Welcome to another very special episode of Profit Made Simple. Today, I have an incredible guest, Mr. Shane Da Costa. Welcome to the show, mate.
Thank you. What an introduction.
Mate, I'm really looking forward to today's conversation. You and I met each other. It was approximately about 8 years ago. It was at the Fitness Business Summit held by Hayden in Melbourne.
Yeah.
That's where you and I met. And at the time, you were a powerhouse personal trainer. You had a team of personal trainers.
Yeah.
And in the last 8 years, haven't you been on some journey? You've built an incredible business in HeartSmart, over 8 figures. You're now helping people realize freedom through the Freedom Academy. And I'm just looking forward to unpacking some of the lessons along the way.
Yeah, man. It's been such a journey. And wow, doesn't time fly? 8 years ago already since that event. I remember being at that event and obviously being in front of an audience of fit pros, and whether it be personal trainers, gym owners, whatever it was, that were there to learn about sales and business. And I think you stole the show that day. You absolutely smashed it, by the way. You smashed it. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. No, but I remember your presentation. It was a powerhouse presentation on sales. And it's something I want to talk about a little bit later in today's episode. But let's rewind the clock a little bit, right? Because when I met you, you're a very well-established personal trainer here in Sydney out of Fitness First. You had a great team of trainers, the Miyagi team itself. Tell us a little bit about your story, because some of our audience might not be familiar with it. So let's rewind the clock back. Fitness industry, was that your first kind of foray into the entrepreneurial business ownership world? Yeah,
look, as we all do, we probably all start in sport, as fitness enthusiasts. We start in sport, whatever it is, and then, through I suppose a passion for fitness, then it just kind of made sense to get into personal training. And so that was kind of the next thing. And actually I started with health science, believe it or not. I was like, Sven, the massage therapist, doing fucking trigger pointing and shit like that. So I got into personal training, did I did the health science first, which was remedial sports massage. But that was really, I guess, for the reason to go deeper into the physiology, to be able to, I already knew that if I was going to get into a crowded market, a red ocean, in other words, I had to stand out, because just being on the gym floor and creating programs, I knew was going to be very difficult to stand out and create a value proposition or differentiate myself. So getting into health science was the first thing, but naturally that led then to personal training. And that was in Darlinghurst in Sydney. I was working out of the City Gym there.
Oh, you started in City Gym.
Mate, what a space. What a journey.
What an introduction into the fitness industry. You would have seen some things there. Yeah, man. If flies on walls could tell stories.
Yeah, they could, believe me, and they probably can. And so that that taught me a lot. And it was really, I suppose, an opportunity to go from being a boy to a man very quickly. You had no choice, right, in that kind of world.
How old were you at the time?
So I kind of started around 18, working behind the desk as you do, right? And obviously then studying in full-time as well, working as many hours as you could. And also then, just trying to, I suppose, establish myself in what was a crazy industry and a growing industry. I recognized very quickly that to build a career, you can't be in a gym that I suppose is too niched or somewhat, I don't know the way to describe it best, but I guess not open to the masses. And I knew that if I was going to be able to charge a premium, build a career, it was something I was passionate about, I wanted to excel in it, I had to put myself in a corporate environment. So I ended up at the Fitness First in Sydney CBD, which
was... Pretty good self-awareness from a young guy on two fronts. Number one, knowing that I've got to have a point of difference, knowing that it is a red ocean. There's tens of thousands of trainers out there. How am I going to separate myself? The second part was, all right, now I've got my USP, I've got my point of difference, but I'm not in the right environment. I'm in a very niche environment. City Gym at the time was, and it probably still is, a very old school bodybuilding gym. It's renowned for a number of different things. And so knew that you had to put yourself in an environment where there were going to be people that were willing to invest in their health, and they had the disposable income to invest in good training.
Yeah, so corporate environment. And I knew that for me meant a couple of things. I knew it meant that I also had to level up, right? So I was going to be surrounding myself with, I suppose, professionals that were probably more aspirational. They weren't just there for, bodybuilding titles or whatever. They were there for a career, for income. And that's the way I saw it initially. And then I knew that I was also putting myself in an environment where it's not necessarily a high caliber individual, because there are high caliber people everywhere, but it was just more corporate. And I knew that, corporates have consistency, it's predictable, they're at the office, they need to exercise. Anyway, that was kind of my approach getting into the fitness industry. My focus I suppose right from the beginning was always to stand out. I never just wanted to get into anything and just be another trainer, whatever it was. So that journey, as we all undertake, takes time and focus. Like, you have to sort of put your best foot forward, keep studying. And for me, I recognized there was a point many years on. I mean, I was just personal training for so many years, and you can only count reps for so long, right?
Yeah.
I mean, sooner or later, not even the money's enough. Because for some people it may be. I mean, and that's fine. It's a great career. It provides a great lifestyle, and it can be great income. I mean, when you sort of consider what personal trainers get in, I suppose if you compare it to someone who's got a degree working in a law firm, personal trainers can earn amazing money.
You can do incredibly well, right? But you had an itch that you needed to scratch.
Yeah.
And you mentioned something before. You said, I always wanted to stand out. Where did that drive come from? Why wasn't there just this contentness, this complacency? You were making good money. You were surrounded by good people. Where was that inner desire for more coming from?
Look, I think it's a bit of a curse, right? Like, some people are happy to be average.
Double-edged,
it's a double-edged thing, man. It becomes a problem at some point, in a sense but also becomes a gift, right?
Yeah.
Depends on how you use it. But I guess right from the age when I was 12, I can imagine. It doesn't matter what I did. If I look back, I always wanted to be at the very pinnacle, or I wanted to be one of the best in whatever it was I did, whether it be soccer, bodybuilding. I mean, at the age of 21, I won the Junior Mr. Australia. Right. And that was transitioning from being a soccer player that was skinny and wasn't genetically gifted. I'm no Zeus, in my DNA. So, there was always this thing about pushing myself to my limit, excelling or surpassing, I guess, what was possibly even my potential, in a sense, like just breaking that.
Was that innate, was it? Like, as long as you can remember, you had that. So you had it as an athlete, as a soccer player. You then transitioned into bodybuilding, and now that's come into the business arena. And I've always identified that trait in you, because you and I have known each other a number of years, and I've followed your journey very, very closely. And I've always seen that Shane is not being content just being middle of the road. He wants to be top of the tree.
Well, I think it's important for anyone. I mean, if you'll never outperform a negative self-image, right? So, we don't rise to the level of our, I suppose, expectations. It's always based on our preparation and what we're willing to do. So it's one thing having expectations, another thing to do the work, right? So we'll get to that in a minute, I guess. But you have to be aspirational. You have to want more. If you don't, then you're going to limit yourself. You're going to be your own roadblock. You're going to be your own ceiling. So for me, it was always about, well, how do I become the best at this? And when we say the best, right, that's always subjective. And it's always about the best version of you. It's about growing yourself. It's about pushing your own boundaries. It's about being better in whatever it is that
So it wasn't a
do.
Comparison game. It was an inner game. How can I reach my potential within this space?
Look, yes and no. I think naturally, if you're a competitive individual, if you come from a background of sport, it's impossible not to look at your peers and want to somewhat, emulate or compete on some level, but they shouldn't be your focus, right? Because if they become your focus, it becomes a negative focus. Dr. Benjamin Hardy talks about this concept of the gap and the gain, right?
Great book, amazing book.
So I was privileged to see him on stage in Orlando, and he spoke for 90 minutes, and I basically didn't even blink. And then I read his book, the entire book, like from Orlando back to LA, whatever it was. I just couldn't put it down. I couldn't sleep. And the idea is that, if you measure yourself off others and where you are not yet at, well, it produces like a sense of lack, which then kind of bleeds into scarcity and the negative self-talk. I'm not good enough yet. I'm not there yet, that kind of thing. But if you measure yourself off the gain, it starts to produce that positive energy and abundance and forward motion. So it validates the very thing you're trying to produce, which is forward momentum. So for me, it was always looking at others thinking, well, what are they doing? Well, why can't I be that person? Why can't I not be that person? Well, there was nothing suggesting I cannot be that person. The only thing stopping me is me.
Such a good question to ask, right? Because often we can put these people up on this pedestal and they're just human,
Just
right?
humans.
They're just like us. So why can't I do it? And to kind of reaffirm that powerful question, I remember my first time at an international fitness conference. It was the Asia Fitness Conference in Thailand, and I was there as a delegate. I went there just to see the lay of the land, and we're probably talking about 12 years ago now. And I was sitting in the audience and I was watching the other presenters, and it wasn't from an arrogant perspective, but I went, Dan, why can't you do that?
Exactly.
Why can't you be up on that stage teaching, educating, inspiring like these other people? 12 months later,
You're there.
I was up on that stage.
How good's that? Yeah.
Because I asked myself that question.
That's right. So that's exactly my point. It's always, well, back to that question, why can't I do that? And often if you sit in that for a little bit, the response is, well, you can. And so when you start to frame things in that way, then you if you give yourself that kind of response, well, I can, then you start to ask, well, okay, well, what is it that then I need to do? What are the action steps I need to change? You know, there's a principle that I've lived by that's shaped a lot of, I guess, whenever when I look back, before I knew the principle, I was living by the principle. And that is this: your thoughts fundamentally dictate your emotions, right? So your thought, what you think about, what you focus on, amplifies, and that translates into an emotion. It could be a positive emotion, could be a negative emotion based on your thought. That then translates into action steps, and those actions again could be positive and negative based on, I guess, you know, what the thought was. And then last but not least, your actions dictate your results. So when you ask, well, why can I not do that? And the response is, well, I can. It's a positive affirmation. Then you start to feel confidence, inspired. And so that then leads to positive action, meaning, okay, well then what do I need to do to get on that stage? Well, okay, well then I need to start studying how to speaking from stage. I need to start reading books. I need to start sharpening my presentation skills. I need to start building my contacts and making contact and reaching out. You get me? So then that then produces the result, which is you standing on stage 12 months later, delivering your presentation and doing the things. So for me, I always knew, well, I want to be more.
Yeah.
And unless you're willing to reject the average, you'll never experience the great things in life. Because you have to be willing to reject the good things in order to get the great. And so I feel the biggest issue a lot of people have is they accept the good, which is a good income, a good job, a good gym, a good relationship, whatever it is.
That's such an interesting insight.
Yeah.
And I 100% agree. I'm just reflecting on this, and I've been guilty of it as well.
We all do. Yeah.
Why do you think people are averse to rejecting the good? Is it because they're not aware of the great? Is it because they don't think they can realize the great? What do you think is it complacency? Is it contentedness? Why are we settling for good when we know that there's a better alternative out there?
Because change is hard. Because change is hard, and to move from good, it requires that you get out of your comfort zone. And so there's 3 layers, right? you got your inner center, you got your comfort zone. And outside of that, you've got your growth zone.
Yeah.
And so you need to be willing to get out of your comfort zone and step into growth. And growth is challenging.
It's hard, isn't it?
It's scary.
Yeah.
It requires,
it's uncertain.
There's uncertainty. And so as humans, we need certainty and uncertainty. But so often what we're scared of is rejection. It's the disruptive emotions that become debilitating. What if I fail? What if I look stupid? You know, we as Homo sapiens, we evolved to want to be accepted. And so stepping out of our comfort zone and then being ridiculed by our peers. Like, think about this. So many people say, I want to speak from stage, right? But are unwilling to get on a live feed and actually share their opinions, thoughts, ideas, educate, inspire people in their niche. But yet they'll say, I want to speak from stage. And so the first thing you need to do is do the thing. Again, not to go back to Dr. Benjamin, I just think some of this stuff is so relevant right now. He has another book called Be Your Future Self Now. So Be Your Future Self Now, where he talks about, well, if you want to be a speaker on stage, like you need to start behaving in that way now. Like you need to step into that person now.
It's a little like the Covey Be Do Have, right?
Yes.
So if you want to be the speaker, start doing the things that speakers would do. That would be going on the live. It would be taking, speaking at your B&I networking group,
Correct.
Toastmasters, Chamber of Commerce, just stepping on any kind of stage or platform that you have. you start being the person, you start doing the things that they do, you're going to end up having what they have. But it starts with the being and the doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's, the idea is that in order to become that person, you actually need to be that person now.
Yes.
And so often we'll say, I want to be that person, but we take no actions. So therefore there's no results, and we never then fulfill that desire. So when I said, for example, when I was 21, I want to win the Junior Miss Australia, like that vision, there was then a sequence of events that had to sort of, I guess, come into play for me to live that out, to actually then stand on stage and to win that type of title. Many years on, I guess, if we sort of go down the path of many years on, like, to get to the point where then I'm running a successful personal training business. So in order to get to the point where you can run you're running a successful business, right? Someone would ask me, well, you're already achieving a significant amount of success as a personal trainer. Why aim for more? Well, because there's only one thing certain in this world that I've realized, I'm sure you have as well, is that the only guarantee we have is that things are going to change.
Yeah.
I don't care how successful your gym is right now. I don't care how healthy you are right now. I don't care how much money you have in your bank account. Things will change. The economy will shift. Your health will be challenged. The forces that impact your business are going to
yeah.
shift.
I mean, look at how much the landscape is changing right now with AI. It is turning industries upside down overnight.
And that's
the only constant is change.
Absolutely. So that and imagine what that looks like in a digital sense. I mean, I run an online businesses, so that's even faster. Like what we experience is so much more than someone that's running a
bricks and mortar.
Yeah, that bricks and mortar, geographical and whatnot. So it's the rejection of average that leads you to say, okay, well, I want more, and it's not more for the sake of more, but it's to challenge yourself. I mean, is not the purpose of our existence to live up to our full potential? When you think about it,
yeah,
it's not for money as such, money for the sake of money, but is it not to evolve? Like,
I agree. I mean, there's this great analogy, and I don't know who to attribute it to, but it's, when the day you die, you meet your future self. And you see that.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
Isn't it, right?
Oh.
And you see your future self, and you see them and the potential that you had. And I think it would be one of the greatest regrets in life to meet that future self and go, this is what I was capable of.
Yeah.
Yet this is where I am.
Yeah.
And so for me, growth is not about the followers. It's not about the money. It's not about the accolades. It's not about the stages. It's about none of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just about becoming a better version of me. And in that pursuit
1,000%.
of growth is what gets me up every single day.
Same.
And actually, I think it was Ed Milet to give it to
give it a
yeah, that's right, to attribute it to the right person. And for me, that's always stuck in me, because I'm like, man, like, I don't want to meet that future self and just go, dude, like you
didn't live up to your full potential.
You didn't live up to your full potential.
Yeah. I mean, what a crying shame, right? I think every person listening to this, and this is me preaching to the converted, that was the idea for me was constantly, well, how do I live up to my full potential? So, running a successful personal training business turned into me saying, well, that's not enough. Like there's growth here. I'm sick of counting reps. I'm sick of doing, what I could do now when I'm asleep. I can do this in my sleep. So then I started investing. And at this point, I was going through one of the hardest stages of my life. I went through a crazy divorce and literally had lost everything. And without the boring details of that, I mean, I was in a situation where most people would fold. Most people would give up. And most people would turn to drugs, alcohol, and whatever else.
Just numb the pain.
They would numb the pain. They would want for it all to just
Escape.
go away. And I chose a different path. Now, in life, there's only, two options. And I guess Tony Robbins talks about how, there's only a reality of the way you, I guess, perceive the situation. What was happening was either going to happen to me or for me.
Yes.
That's the only two options I have. And so I chose for it to happen for me. So I made a decision in that moment, which was, well, I'm not going to drink. I'm not going to get stuck in what everyone else was doing at this point in time. I'm going to do the opposite. In chaos, I'm going to command discipline. I'm going to create absolute discipline, take extreme ownership over my situation. No drinking. I mean, I was counting every calorie. You could imagine, why is that important? It sounds so fucking dumb. Because in chaos, I created discipline. And what I did was, instead I focused on my health and started investing into my personal development. I literally turned off the radio. Every time I was driving somewhere, I was listening to an audiobook. I was purchasing an audiobook. I was listening to a podcast. I then started purchasing books. Up until that point, I actually probably hadn't even read a book, believe it or not.
Wow.
Like not really consumed a book. And I went from being not a reader, I am not making a statement, I am not a reader, to a point where I was reading a book a week, a personal development book, listening to podcasts, audiobooks, and shifted my perspective back to the what we spoke about earlier. You change your thought, you change your emotion, you change your emotion, you change your action dictates your result. So if my life isn't what I want it to be, I've got to change my thoughts. And so I need to change the garden, what's coming into the garden every moment. So I started investing into personal development and also business coaching. I didn't have the money, but I was like, well, if this is going to change, there's a person that needs to grow. So before I experienced the external results, I knew I had to become a different version of me. I mean, I felt, it's weird to say, but I felt not dead inside, but I felt like I was I felt like I was slowly fading as in this fitness industry. I was fading. I was becoming irrelevant, and
so you had a number of things going on at once. So you had this feeling where I know I'm capable of more. I no longer feel like I'm being challenged. I'm no longer feeling like I'm growing. At the same time, you're at this incredible crossroads of your life, really stressful period, very difficult divorce. It was in that period that you shifted your identity. And even what you said was incredibly powerful. We make these statements, I'm not a reader. You've now identified as someone that's not a reader. Now you're identifying as someone like I am a reader. I'm a disciplined man. I'm someone that's in the pursuit of growth and development. And then that identity comes even before the thoughts, right? Because now your thoughts are different. That follows the emotions, then the actions themselves.
Yeah. So, part of that then was, the investment creates, I guess, a different cadence, a different action step constantly on a daily basis. Went on to build a successful personal training business. When I say personal training, now with trainers, we had like 13 trainers at one point working for me in a commercial gym like Fitness First, which was probably the largest franchised personal training business within a franchise that has ever existed in this country.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, if these guys are in fitness, they probably know James Smith. I mean, he worked for me. Right.
Oh, so, James Smith worked for you?
He worked for me when he came to Australia, right? And that's another story. But, great guy. And, but that journey was what started propelling me forward, and so the lessons you're compounding, the person you're becoming through that, the mistakes you're making all matter because they're stepping stones. Fast forward many years and obviously COVID hits and it changes the world. And I'm sure it did for all of your students, members, followers. And again, this can either happen to me or for me. Once again, I'm at another crossroad, and we always experience crossroads. Crossroads are inevitable, and they happen more often than we actually think. They're actually happening on a daily basis because every day we have to make decisions. But the like a huge one, a pivotal one was COVID. And once again, I had two businesses that at this point they were operating. They're both 7-figure businesses, both doing extremely well, both shut down immediately. One disappeared into thin air and was never to come back. And the other, which was the personal training, I kind of had a glimmer of hope. Well, maybe, when the gyms open again, we can revisit this. But here I had a decision. And that decision was, well, am I just going to go back when things open up and keep doing what I've been doing because it's comfortable? Or am I going to use this opportunity to double the fuck down and learn the lessons and learn the skills I yet don't know to now scale something online in a significant manner, open myself up to completely new opportunities and go down this path? So once again, I had this decision, and that decision had to be met with action. The first action step was a conversation I had with a coach. And that was another crossroad. Do I invest or do I not? It was $15,000. And at this point, both businesses are shutting down. No guarantee of income, mortgages to pay.
Yeah.
I wired the money within 15 minutes. No questions asked after that. Here's the money. Let's go. And it's that level of commitment and certainty that you need to back yourself in those moments that matters.
Yeah, that level of intent and decisiveness, you straight away, you made a commitment to it there and then.
100%.
Yeah. And I think that's really important because a lot of people will say things and they'll want to do things. You just went, this is happening.
There's a valley between what you want and what you do.
Yeah, and you just shortened that valley, didn't you?
Yeah, what you get is a result of what you do, not what you want. Everyone's aspirational. I want to be successful. You know, I want to earn more money. I want the nice car. I want the nice house. But what are you willing to do to get it? And often the doing is the painful bit. It's the sacrifice. It's the delay of gratification. It's the hours no one sees. It's the, it's that sacrifice. And so it was that moment I had to decide, well, what am I going to do here? And so putting that money down was a statement of intent, but then backing that up was another. And so, this is the beautiful thing is you can be whatever you want to be, right? We literally can. And it sounds cliche, but we can. Like I wasn't an online trainer at that point.
No, you had 13 trainers, you had face-to-face, you had a mentoring business that was face-to-face.
Yeah.
But you decided in that instant, the world is changing. I need to evolve. I need to change. I'm an online trainer.
And the world is constantly changing. Things are forever changing. So if you don't change with it, there's a great Eric Hoffer quote, which is in times of change, learners inherit the earth, while the learned find themselves perfectly equipped to deal with a world that no longer exists. That quote shaped me so many years earlier because I realized, well, the world is changing as I know it. And if all I do is stay in my current knowing, then eventually I'm going to become a dinosaur. And what the fuck happened to them?
Yeah.
So I knew, okay, I've got to go forward. Anyway, so we kind of go forward. And within about a 6-week period, I'd launched my first online offer. Imperfectly, it doesn't matter. Whatever you do, action matters more than the perfection.
Absolutely.
The perfection really is just an excuse that is hiding. It's a facade for fear of rejection, or of not being good enough.
It's just a form of
getting
procrastination.
It wrong. It's procrastination, right? So if you just do the thing, you'll be surprised often what the result is. You'll start to see forward progress and action. And so the imperfect action was piecing it together, getting the information, taking action on that, doing the work, putting in the effort, the time, the energy, bunkering down, zeroing in, getting it done, launching it. And within 6 weeks, I had it live. I'd never run Facebook ads. All of a sudden, I'm running my own ads. I'd never built a digital business with offshore staff. We had offshore staff.
You're building funnels now.
We're building funnels. I'd never built funnels properly, right? I dabbled a little bit with ClickFunnels and so forth. And now we're building funnels. And then, and on, right? So it probably about 6 weeks after that, we hit our first 50K week. 50K week.
In 6 weeks.
In 6 weeks after that, from launch.
Yeah, from wiring the cash.
So from wiring the cash to 12 weeks later, we did our first 50K week. And I already had my eye on another target. I already knew I wanted to get over 100K. For me, that was the target. I've got to get over 100K in a week. And about another 6 or so weeks after that, we did over 100K in a week in online health, right? And so if you sort of look back at that, the 100K is simply a reflection of the lessons that I had already learned, the things I was already doing, the value I was already bringing to a market. Because that's what I realized. It's, well, okay, so it's piecing together something that exchanges value, right? And that meets a need and solves a problem. And so the journey went from there. I mean, we went on to build, we went on to keep sort of iterating on that. Initially we started with fit mums, with the bikini bodies, the most generic shit you could possibly imagine.
I didn't know it started so generically.
I look at that stuff now. It's like that quote saying, if you don't look back in 12 months and think, holy shit, I'm embarrassed by what I just did, well, you're not growing, right? By definition, right? That's the definition of growth.
And so you look back and
I look at that and think, holy crap, how did I do that, right? So then...
But it worked at the time.
It worked.
Because it wasn't so much the offer itself, it was the skills you were acquiring in the offer. Right?
Absolutely. Look, there's nothing wrong with fit mums and bikini bodies, and this is another thing I've learned. It's, there's a concept that Russell Brunson made popular. I'm not sure whether or not he'd invented it, but it's a concept of the attractive character. You can still have a bikini body today. I can guarantee you there'll be someone in this audience that would be the perfect attractive character. In other words, front person for a bikini body brand that I could turn into a $30 million a year business.
Yeah.
Because it's the attractive character attached to a movement, right? That's critical. Now, I built the bikini body. I built the fit mum. That was going okay, but I knew, well, this is a red ocean, right? In other words, it was COVID, lots of people coming online, and great, right? Competitive space and health, by the way, probably have to be the worst thing to try to break into because of simply the barriers to entry being so low.
Yeah. And
right?
ultra competitive,
barriers
commoditized.
to entry, yeah. And anyone can kind of do it. So I realized, well, we've got to differentiate here. We need to up the game, solve bigger problems. And cut a long story short, found myself creating a program called Defeat Diabetes, right?
What was it called?
Defeat Diabetes,
nice.
Right? Now, another guy called Dr. Bruckner actually built a program at the same time that I did, complete, randomness of the universe. And he beat me to the punch in the trademarking by a week and a half.
Oh.
So then I had to rebrand that anyway. But that was the first brand that took us over, I think, 150K. And that was when I finally introduced the Heart Smart program, got a cardiologist on board and introduced the dietitians and took it to being a telehealth service that we started doing about 200 to 250K a week. $1 million. We did a couple of months where we were close to $1 million a month in Australia. That's just in Australia.
Wow.
And that's cash collected.
Let's unpack that a little bit, right? Because you've been on this rapid trajectory.
Yeah. Crazy. Chaos.
Right?
Chaos.
You've gone from being a PT, building a team of PTs, 2 7-figure businesses, 1 fitness, 1 mentoring. COVID hits, you go, all right, let's burn those boats. Time to reinvent myself. Let's go into the online space. There's several iterations. Then we end up with this business that's doing $1 million a month. What was some of the big lessons you learned about scaling a business? Because you'd already scaled 2 businesses to 7 figures.
Yeah.
Now you've got an 8-figure business. What were some of the lessons you learned about going from 7 to 8?
Huge. the beast is completely different. So, when you sort of go from 7 figures, largely, you're sort of still you're not just a CEO, but you're everything to everyone still when you're kind of doing all things.
Yeah.
And most things, sort of rely on you and you are the bottleneck and whatnot. When you start to get into the 8 figures, things change because there's a need now for more governance, right? And the first thing I learned was that, it's great to sell people in because I love sales. If you don't know, I love selling people in. But sales from a perspective of service and solving a problem and delivering value, right? But when you sell someone in, the next problem you have is how do I actually deliver on this? And so we built a sales machine that was so good. It was on fire. I'm talking, I probably should have turned the shit down, right? I probably should have dialed it down and someone should have said,
but that's
hey,
a
Shane,
reflection of your skills and values, right? Because, we started this podcast with me saying I first saw you at Fitness Business Summit.
Yeah.
You delivered a powerhouse presentation on sales.
Yeah.
So you could see there that was a skill that you loved,
Just love it.
that you were great at. And so you built a sales business by the sounds of it.
Yeah.
And then had to work on the
Then you
delivery
realise-
retrospectively a little bit.
Yeah, you realize, and that's look, growth is imperfect. So your question was more around what does that look like? Well,
Yeah.
when you get to 8 figures, all of a sudden you do need to step into a CEO role, and for most of us, that is not something that we've studied. That's not something that we've, I guess, had the privilege.
We don't know what that looks like.
We don't even know what that means. We don't even know what the title actually means. And most of us step into like a role of a CEO, but we've got no concept of what that actually means.
So what did it mean for you?
Well, for me, it actually meant recruitment.
Yeah, okay.
Because for me, the main purpose of me as a CEO is the visionary. It's to increase profits. It's to expand our market share. It's to open up opportunity. It's to increase awareness of our product. It's to attract new people into our world. And so, bringing on Dr. Ross Walker, bringing on Dr. Gina Cleo, exploring the US opportunities, expanding our market, expanding the vision, and selling people into the vision became my big, I suppose, focus. But what I realized was the fulfillment then starts to suffer if you don't have a COO in place, a chief operating officer. You need a doer.
You're the visionary, you need an integrator.
Absolutely.
In the EOS model, which I love,
Yes.
Gino Wickman, you're the visionary, you got the big ideas, you're doing the big JVs, the big partnerships, but then you need someone to manage that day-to-day.
You need someone to manage the day-to-day and keep things tight, to oversee the data, to oversee the operations, to ensure that things are operating smoothly, that everyone's
Were you missing
aligned.
that person at
I was
first?
missing that person initially. And so it was chaos. It was absolute chaos. And again, these are the things that you learn, I guess in hindsight, that sort of, that concept. But that's the beautiful thing, right? And so we scale way too fast. And in that was imperfect, I suppose, business operations. But how else are you meant to learn?
Yeah.
How else are
you always want to create. You always want to create extra friction because all that does is shine a light on where are the constraints, where are the gaps. Let's go and fix those now.
Absolutely. So, pressure creates diamonds. So, like that pressure had me then asking new questions. And what I realized is this, right, is that it's at that point no longer what do I need to do? The question becomes, well, who do I need to hire? Because what goes into the doing and it puts the onus and the emphasis on you again, which ultimately a lot of those things are outside of your skill set. A lot of those things are outside of your paycheck.
Such a power. It's a little bit like the Dan Kennedy question, right? The who, not how. So you had to start shifting the way that you sought things because you were looking at things like, I can resolve this. How do I do this? In the past, what do I need to do? Now it's who can do it for me?
Who can do it for me better than I can? And what I realized was this, right, is that, many years prior, I read a book which was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And one of the main golden nuggets, and we all get golden nuggets from different books. This is why I highly recommend anyone that's on this journey that one of your main daily responsibilities is to fucking read. Read 10 pages, 5 pages. I don't care what it is, but read. Because one of the main points from that I took, golden nuggets, many years ago, was that you don't work for money. Like you want to be working to gain insight, to learn new skills, to acquire a new perspective, because that's part of the growth. And one thing he said was that that when you step into this journey, the expert is someone you're going to hire. The academic is someone you're going to hire. And so it's not being the technician that sets you free. It's being the visionary. It's being the business leader. It's being the person that's willing to take the risk that sets you free. Because then you become the person on the front line, which is not necessarily for everybody. But that was one thing I got, which was that I don't need to be the smartest person in the room. Hence why I was able to hire one of the best known cardiologists in this country. I was able to hire one of 5 behavioral psychologists in the world specializing in habit change. While I was able to hire dietitians with master's degrees that they've been through university for 5-6 years, but they're all working for me. So what I realized was actually, well, I don't need to be the smartest person in the room. I just need to change the question. I don't need to know what I need to do. All I need to ask is, well, who knows how to do this? And that creates the leverage. It creates the freedom. It creates the expansion. So for me, when I did that, I started realizing, I was sitting at tables with individuals that were CEOs leading, and attracting all kinds of opportunity. And all of a sudden I'm looking around thinking, shit, this was the kid that was a masseuse doing effleurage and topotements on people years earlier, counting reps, learning about, tempo and rep ranges and program design and intensification and whatever, to now having these meetings with individuals that have built 8-figure businesses or doctors or leaders or whatever. I'm like, wow, I've changed the game, right? I'm sitting at a different table. So it was that desire to be more that led down that path. It was then the action that I took that kept me moving forward. It was what I was willing to endure that kept me on the path. Because one thing, getting on the path, and there's things staying on the path.
Let's talk about that now, because you've had this incredible shift. You're now starting to see business through a different lens. You've shifted your identity. You're seeing yourself as the visionary, the CEO. How can I surround myself with lots of other smart people that are better at me in their particular roles? You had this rapid trajectory. Now, you spoke to our crew last year and you said the business is going through some big shifts.
Yeah.
The economic landscape had changed. The way people are consuming information has changed. How have you been able to combat some of those changes and shifts and challenges that you've now had in the last 12 plus months? Because I know it is made you a better leader. I know it's challenged you and rocked you as a entrepreneur, and you've come out the other side. Share some of those experiences.
Well, I think the main thing I've taken from this, lesson or this period is that once you learn the fundamentals of business, right? Attraction. You need to be able to attract people that have a problem that you can solve, right? Attraction, marketing, whether it be direct response, paid ads, social, organic content, whatever it is. Once you learn attraction, then you'll learn how to convert. So how do I take someone that is warm in consideration mode to at a point where they're willing to exchange money for value and say yes to move forward? So the conversion. Then it's the fulfillment side of it. So how do I build then a machine that fulfills on that promise at a level that's acceptable and provides enough value so it justifies the initial investment? If not in their mind, it's worth more, right? Once you learn those things, you can do anything. So here's the thing. So often we box ourselves in, particularly, you and I and anyone that's come from the health space. By the way, this is my biased opinion. Anyone that's come through health has an advantage.
Why is that?
I feel like we have a perspective of intrapreneurship that allows us to step into entrepreneurship. See, think about it. Most personal trainers start as an entrepreneur. They're a business owner within a business.
Yep.
They have a desire for a business, but they have a little bit of security within another business. So they don't have to go all in, but they get to experience some of the pleasure, the pain, the lessons, the ups, the downs that conditions them to want to learn more. So we have an advantage that primes our mind a little bit to be okay and conditioned to accept challenge, adversity. And so what I learned, and back to your question, is that I'm not boxing myself in anymore in health. Health is simply a vehicle that I used.
It was a business vehicle.
It was a business vehicle that I used to exchange value. Now that I've learned attraction, conversion,
you can transfer those skills anywhere.
I can transfer it to anything. And to put an exclamation mark on that, over the last, I was just telling you before we got online, like I literally built in the last 6 weeks another business that is helping people transition from 9-to-5 jobs, trades, part-time, whether it be, they could be doing anything. They could be fitness professionals. They could be people in retail, in service industries, to remote sales. So helping people transition in a time where there's uncertainty, AI is disrupting the world, the economy is shifting, our government is creating chaos. A lot of guys are now considering moving overseas, whether it be Bali, Thailand, Cyprus, whatever. The world is changing, right? So I'm looking at a problem now saying, well, how can I solve that? So once upon a time, I'm massaging people. I'm doing effleurage and deportments and trigger pointing, solving a problem. Then I'm running a personal training business, solving a problem. Then I'm building a business, solving a problem. Then I'm going online, running Heart Smart, solving a problem. But all I've done is I've learned skills on attraction, conversion, and delivery. So now I can start another business that's not boxed in health, but fundamentally is the same principles. Identify a problem that you can solve, that you are passionate about solving, learn how to sell people in a way that is economically viable and is not a constraint in terms of a person's willingness to pay for that. So where is the market at? How do you position yourself within that market? Learn these skills, piece it together. I've done that in 6 or 7 weeks. I was just telling you before we got online, we've made our first 20K in our basically our first 10 days. I mean, if you were to map that out, that's already a 7-figure business.
It's just a transference of those skills, right?
In
and
6 weeks.
Over the 2 decades, you've had all these different businesses, now different sectors of the industry. And what they've helped you do is just get better and better and better at the 3 core skills of growing a 7-figure business, an 8-figure business. And you can now put that
into anything.
And
this is the challenge, right? And this is what I've been challenged with and what I guess I've struggled to overcome. That is the honest truth. Struggle to overcome it. We box ourselves in. We are the first people, and I say we as in every individual, to put a limitation on ourselves. I am a fitness professional. I am a sales professional, and we box ourselves in. I don't believe that to be the case. I believe that so many of us have so many passions. We have so many things we can share, teach, and contribute to the world. You just need to be willing to step into the fire, to put yourself in that position, to be the leader. The world needs leaders. All you need to do is be willing to lead in any area. Lead, educate, inspire, create change, instigate change, reform, whatever it is. And so for me, it was that's the lesson. It's, well, things are shifting. People aren't spending on health exactly like they were. Doesn't mean they're not going to in the future. Doesn't mean they're not. It's just changing a little bit, right? So we're still running HeartSmart. We're still making sales. We're still doing more than what most people. If I told you the numbers, which most people would go, holy shit, like you're still doing that. But for me, that's not enough. So that's still operating, and now I'm building something else because I have a passion, and B, I have a skill. And so it's learning that, okay, well, hang on, I don't have to be limited here. I can do something else, but it has to start from a place of service. That's important. It has to start from a place of service, not from a perspective of what can I sell? What can I solve?
I really like that positioning. I was reading something the other day where Richard Branson said when he looks at a new business, it comes from powerhouse, right?
Jeez, yeah.
And it comes from frustration. So he's frustrated at the current model. He looks at it and he goes, why
I can do it better?
Yes.
But that's entrepreneurship. That's Elon Musk. That's Richard Branson. You think about his story. I think he talked about why he started his plane version of his business. I think he mentioned something to the effect of that he went to book a flight and he was frustrated with the service. He went, I can do this better. And so he did.
Yeah. And so similarly to yourself, it's like you're solving a problem. He's saying it comes from a frustration. He's solving a problem. It's not, I want to make money. It's like, how can I do this better? How can I reduce the friction? How can I do it more efficiently? The other thing that he says, and I see it in you as well, is curiosity, right? And being just a student and going, all right, well, the world is changing. The current, employment landscape and the way what we do for work is radically
people's
shifting.
Needs are changing.
People's needs are changing. That curiosity, all right, well, if that's changing, how can we provide a solution that meets people where they're at?
Exactly. So often, that is the hardest thing for us to step into, right? And I guess the way I looked at it was, well, when I say people's needs are changing, once upon a time, money was enough.
Yeah.
You pay someone enough and they'll do the thing, but it's now no longer enough. People are getting to the point where they're frustrated with the status quo. Wake up, brush their teeth, shitty breakfast, commute, stuck in traffic, not see their kids off in the morning, get late, it's already dark, not have any time to exercise, to invest in the things they're passionate about. But yeah, money hits their account, but
it's just Groundhog Day.
It's just Groundhog Day. So the needs are changing. And I see this because when we now run our funnel and the specific questions we ask with related to what we're doing in the Freedom Academy, we see what the response is. People are talking about, I'm earning, but, and there's this negative bias, and the negative bias reveals the truth, which is, but I don't get to do this. I never get to walk my dog. I don't get to spend any time with my kids. I don't get to do that. So think of it like, back to your question about what have I learned? Well, what am I seeing that I feel I could legitimately solve, and what value can I bring that someone would want to pay me for? It's as simple as that.
I think looking at that, I agree with you. I think the consumer is changing where the money is not a means to an end anymore. They're on this hamster wheel and they're living a life that's incongruent with their values. Yeah. And what you've identified is through the Freedom Academy, hey, we can help you still make money, good money, but have a life that reflects your greatest priorities.
Yeah, and have autonomy. I mean, how many years do we actually spend on this rock? And what is that worth? Think about if you broke that down, right? And I'll give you an example. If I said, well, I'll give you a bag of money. There's $10 million in this bag. There's no conditions attached to it. This is a hypothetical question and you can answer it when you're ready, right? And I was to give you this bag, $10 million, it's yours. Would you take it?
Yes.
But what if I said now that money came with a condition, and that condition was you can take it, but in exchange for that money, you're going to be locked up for the next year. Would you take it?
No.
Why?
I want to see my family. I want to experience, all the amazing things that I do, the places that I see, the growth that I uncover, the clients that I get to, do great things with. Life is a treasure.
So what you're saying is that your freedom is worth more than $10 million.
Absolutely.
But yet people accept a measly 100K a year and voluntarily make themselves a prisoner to a job that doesn't give them freedom.
It's powerful, isn't it? It's people are answering yes to that, but then they're living a life that's in complete misalignment. They're just.
That's right.
Is it awareness? Is it?
It's a combination, right?
Yeah.
It's a combination. It's the status quo. It's what we've always known. It's the safety because we need certainty. But Tony Robbins says, one of our primal needs is certainty, right? But there's a degree of uncertainty that also fires us up, that helps us step into our greatest potential. Like the very thing that you help people step into in your coaching is uncertainty.
That's right.
Because the uncertainty is the opportunity. Hey, there's no guarantee, but I can guarantee you one thing. If you do not do this program, you will stay where you are. And in fact, things may even get worse. But if you step into it, it could possibly work.
It opens.
And what does that look like for you?
Yeah, it opens them up to a world that doesn't exist in their current state. It opens it up to possibilities that they could only ever dream of. And sometimes they can't even dream of it.
And that I think is the juice, right? When you think about it, it's that uncertainty that we ultimately grow with. It's that uncertainty because it's when we step into that we get to prove who we actually are, what we're capable of. I mean, it's the very thing that allows us to experience the pressure that we actually need to show up, to step up to the plate and to swing. There's no guarantee when you step up to the plate when Mickey Mantle back in the day, I don't know, one of the greats in baseball, that he was going to hit every fucking ball. But he had to step into that uncertainty to hit the ball, right? Like to win. So you think about like it's the very thing we need. So I guess, for me, I've always seen it, well, how do I stretch? How do I grow? And there is also part of this journey is anchoring to new levels, anchoring to new heights, stepping up to new levels. Because when you step up, there's an amazing thing that happens. When you step up to a new level of success, you actually invite new people into your world. Like the decisions I made many years ago to reject just being a personal trainer for the rest of my life and just being a fitness professional for the rest of my life, then invited new relationships, opportunities, masterminds, conversations, business ventures. And then that opens up again. So it's almost like, you can be born into any situation. I wasn't born into money. I don't know about your situation. I wasn't born into money. I wasn't born into opportunity. I wasn't born into leadership. I had to choose that. In fact, I had to take that. I have a saying that I feel like I've coined is, how did the royals become royal? By the tip of a sword. They took it. They weren't born royal. The recent ones, but at some point, someone had to stand up and say, well, hey, I'm royal. That's a decision. And it's not by arrogance. It's confidence, self-assuredness. I want more. I want to lead. And so it's stepping into that opens new opportunity, then invites new things into your world. And opportunity creates opportunity. What I've seen in masterminds, I've been in some of the most respected masterminds in the globe, right, around individuals that 8 figures is like
child's play.
It's child's play. Like I've been in masterminds where then after we go for dinner, we go to a casino and these guys are gambling 50, 100 grand US in 15 minutes. Dude, get any concept? Like I'm watching that, I'm just thinking, wow.
Yeah.
It's expansion of your mind, right? You ever seen that image of an elephant when it's a baby and it's attached by a little rope?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know what that principle's called. What's that principle called?
It's the elephant and the rope. And so what it is the elephant, when it's a baby in an elephant enclosure, they put that there so it doesn't roam around. It doesn't endanger people, right?
Yeah.
But what happens is they are then conditioned to believe
that's their world.
That is their world, that they can't actually break free of it. Yet now they become this big, powerful beast.
Yeah.
And with one small little effort, they would tear that peg out of the ground.
Yeah.
And they would roam around.
Yeah.
And then the elephant is this big, powerful beast and it can tear it out. Yet it's got this belief. It's conditioned that it can't roam free.
Yeah.
Because that belief has been ingrained at such a young age. And I believe that's what's holding a lot of people back is they have these beliefs that are ingrained that no longer serve them. They once did. That belief was there to keep them safe. Yet it's the very thing that's holding them hostage. And to your point, there are so many beliefs that have kept people safe.
Limiting beliefs.
Limiting beliefs. But if you want to get to that next level, if you want to pursue your full potential, if you want to be in rooms like you've been in, then you need to adopt a new belief. You need to tear it out. And yes, there is uncertainty. Yes, there is some unknown. But it is only through that conscious decision that this can happen.
Yeah. And you know, I love what you said about, you know, the hostage. And it is the plague of humanity, you know, where we limit ourselves. And that limitation often starts externally, but then it's reinforced internally. So, you know, we've come here to talk about business, and I could talk an hour about sales alone and objection handling or building a business and sales teams and outbound calls and metrics and whatever. But it's funny, what we're talking about here is breaking limiting beliefs, breaking the shackles, thinking bigger.
It's the most important
expanding your
thing.
world, you know, all that kind of stuff. I remember being in an auditorium and watching this speaker again about a year and a half ago, and he delivered this masterclass, and he had 3 statements that if you use these 3 statements in any situation, this is how I've interpreted, will change your life. The first is I can. The second is I will. And the last is I must. So here's an example. I can become anything I want to be. I will commit to stepping outside of my comfort zone and exploring possibility. I must not look back, believe in myself, and push forward. I can, I will, I must. And whenever you come against adversity, challenges, the demon inside is screaming, holding you back, telling you why you can't. All you need to do to silence that is repeat these things and attach something to it. I can, I will, I must. And when you do that in the affirmative, it creates the confidence, it creates the foundation, it creates the internal strength that you need to break that shackle, to break that rope, to venture away from what you believe is your only ability or the only thing you can do. I mean, the people, the guys that built F-45, for example, at some point they had to say, I can, I will, I must, in their own way.
Yes.
They had to believe that to be true. They had to believe that to be possible, to build that movement. At some point, for you to build what you've done, you had to say, I can, I will, I must.
One of my favorite sayings that I will, and a lot of my clients will know this, they'll hear me say it is, whether you think you can or you can't.
You're right.
You're both right.
Yeah.
Right? So why don't we think we can?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then
what if?
What if? Shane, I've loved today's conversation, and it's gone down even a different path that I thought it was going to.
Me too, yeah.
And I hope the listeners and the people watching have enjoyed it as much as I have, because this is powerful, guys. Like, we'll have Shane back on. I'm going to be on his podcast in a few weeks. We can talk about the skills, and that's really important.
The tactical stuff we can talk about, but I think if you don't first overcome the internal challenge, the tactical stuff makes no difference.
It's superfluous, right? It really is. It makes zero difference. And that's why you have to shift the heart and the head before you start shifting 100%. The hands. And that's what we've done on today's podcast. And I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Now, there's going to be people that have listened to this, watched this, have just gone, wow, you know, I want more. I want to know more about Shane's world. How can they best do so?
It's Shane Da Costa official, whether it be Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. I've got the Freedom Formula podcast, which is about, you know, sales, entrepreneurship, the online world, building freedom. You know, freedom is what we all want, right? Yeah. No one wants money for the sake of money. If you want money for the sake of money, go get your head checked, because, you know, I've seen people with a lot of money with a lot of problems, and money's great. There's nothing wrong with money. It's who we are. That's the problem, right? So we want freedom, and so, you know, my vision is to help people break free of the thinking that has kept them stuck, learn how to attract, convert, and deliver in a way that sets them free, call their own shots, learn about sales, learn about themselves, learn about money, and create leverage so that, you've got more time, you've got more energy, you've got the health you want, you've got the relationship you want, you've got the money that you need to create the impact that you desire. And so, if you're interested in freedom, then yeah, give me a follow. And but I think freedom always starts internally.
It does. It absolutely does. Well, make sure you do. Make sure you give this man a follow. He is an absolute powerhouse. He's been part of my world for a long time, and I'm grateful for you,
Likewise,
mate.
mate.
I'm
Likewise.
grateful for you always sharing. Every time I ask anything of you, you just put your hand up. You're always there for me. You're there for our community, and I appreciate you, everything that you do for me, my community, this podcast. Guys, if you've got value from today, you know what to do. Give us a like. Give us a comment. Tell us what was most insightful and valuable for you, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thank you very much. Thanks, mate.
Legend.